We are back in today, start of a new series, man. We're going to be ranking and tier listing every single positional class, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, if you guys like the series. Today, we're starting off with the 2025 rookie wide receiver rankings, where you want to, rank these guys in terms of your Dynasty redraft leagues, or even this is important information if it's not a Dynasty league, be aware of the talent level that we're going to have coming in. Now, today, we're doing just wide receivers. We're going to rank them S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, talk about each one of the prospects, kind of how their rankings can change throughout the season. But also, you can see right here, we have my big board, I'm going to call it. We're going to have a video coming out soon where I just rank my top 35, top 50 prospects in Dynasty, and we're going to do a lot of mock drafts with this big board too as well. So make sure you smash the like and subscribe button, boys. Please subscribe right now. Help me, motivate me to release more fantasy football content. Love the support. Let's get into the video. So there's going to be one or two S tier type guys, and the first one has to be Mr. Tet McMillan. So Tet McMillan's going to be an S tier type guy. So in 2023, he had 1,402 receiving yards. He had 10 touchdowns. Next season, 2024, this most recent season, 12 games, so one game less than he did in 2023. He had 1,300 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. So back-to-back consistent seasons right here. He kind of prospects out as a Drake London type guy. He averaged 109.9 yards per game. And the thing you like about Tet McMillan, guys, he's going to get, he's projected to be a top 7 draft pick right now in the 2025 draft. Obviously, things can change with the combine, but Tet McMillan is going to be that guy. He's 6'5", 212 pounds. He has an wide receiver skill set, good deep speed. He has the footwork. He has the route tree. He can beat defenders on routes, and he has the good catch radius. So he's the S tier receiver. He's probably going to be top 3, top 4 in your redraft. We'll do a lot of mock drafts. You can see where I project him out. The next guy on the list is going to have to be Mr. Luther Burton. Now, Luther Burton, the reason he gets S tier, he didn't necessarily live up to his expectations. He was a 5-star recruit, but he never really hit his stride at Missouri. As a sophomore, he did have 1,212 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. That's pretty solid stuff. But then, his most recent season as a junior, he fell back, only 60 receptions, 676 yards, and honestly, he was the wide receiver 2 in his offense. So the whole offense, as a Missouri Tiger whole, took a step back in 2024. But he is versatile. He is explosive. He did earn that 5-star, recruiting accolade. And he still averaged, 56 yards per game, not good in 2024, but he still is trending as if he's going to be a top 15. His ADP right now in NFL draft mock drafts is 14. So he will command enough recruiting, enough draft capital to be put in S tier as a wide receiver. He'll go high in your draft classes. Now you can see on my big board right here, guys, I have Travis Hunter kind of as the next receiver, but I'm not putting him as the wide receiver 3. I can't. I want to, but I cannot. And in fact, the next wide receiver I'm going to be putting, it's going to have to be Mr. Amika Iuka. He's not S tier, not quite the same grade that you would expect, but he still is a solid receiver, man. Amika Iuka, he went back for his senior year at Ohio State to go after that national championship. He caught 70 passes, 896 yards, and 10 touchdowns. It's pretty solid. He's an ideal NFL slot wide receiver with a quick first step and clean routes. He turns slants and drags into big gains. The upside here is that he can be a PPR monster with a lot of receptions. The thing to note here, he was the wide receiver 2 in Ohio State's offense this year. Jeremiah Smith was a monster, man. He came in 5-star recruit, 1,000 receiving yards for him, and then Iuka was a wide receiver 2 at 824 yards. But he still is going to command potentially first round. He's going to be a day 1 draft pick, I believe. Now, is it because the wide receiver class isn't as good as usual? Perhaps, but he still is trending out. His ADP right now is pick number 28. And I just know Iuka, he's going to be higher than the next guy, which is Travis Hunter. The reason I have Travis Hunter a step below Iuka, Travis Hunter's ceiling is higher, boys, but we can't, he's not going to be, he might not be a receiver. Honestly, I don't, we'll do some mock drafts. I wouldn't put my, top 3, top 4, top 5 Dynasty redraft pick, not even redraft, my rookie redraft. I would not put a rookie pick into Travis Hunter. I'd be too scared. He's an enigma for fantasy managers. He's going to be top 3 in the NFL draft. And most NFL GMs, general managers, have indicated that Travis Hunter would primarily be a cornerback with 10 to 20 snaps at receiver per game. So if that's the case, he's going to be playing mostly corner, and he'll be like Taysom Hill, but worse. He'll have a couple packages where he'll get 10 to 20 snaps on offense. Not 10 to 20 passes to him, not targets. 10 to 20 snaps. So, I mean, he showed elite receiver ability, catching 96 passes for 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns, while also playing full-time on defense. But if he plays 10 to 20 snaps on offense, you can move Travis Hunter down to F tier for fantasy purposes, man, because it's not ideal. It's very, very risky. And really, if he's not playing wide receiver more than 10 snaps a game, you know what tier that is. Rough. But with the talent profile, got to have him in A tier as well. He is, one of those solid type wide receiver options. Up next, the next receiver on my board, a bit controversial here, perhaps. Trey Harris, man. Trey Harris, I think people are low-key sleeping on him. The fantasy football community is going to like this guy, whereas the NFL draft community is going to actually dislike this guy. The reason is, man, Trey Harris did all of the dirty work for Mississippi, running from both the slot and the outside. Very good route running, very good catch technique, with a very close to full route tree and 1,030 receiving yards in only 8 games. Only 8 games, he had 1,000+ receiving yards. Those are monster numbers. Now, I know some people have Trey Harris a lot lower on their boards. He averaged 128.8 yards per game, boys. Wild. And his prior 2 seasons, he was just below 1,000 receiving yards as well. Now, that was in 12 games, but in 8 games this year, he blew up. Now, the reason people are putting him a little bit lower is because they're calling the offense Mickey Mouse. They're saying the Ole Miss offense was Mickey Mouse, but Trey Harris had the stats, man, and he's got to be this high on my draft board. I think that, his average draft position, he's looking like he's going to be a second-round pick. His ADP is 43 right now. So he's a day 2 pick. We don't know what team he's going to end up on, but I think he can be an immediate contributor. The next wide receiver I want to rank is going to be Amika Iuka, and there's a step down. There's a step down from A tier. We're no longer in that A tier. All of these guys I think could be day 1 talent. Day 1 talent potentially, day 1 of the draft. Now we're talking about more day 2. Trey Harris, he's probably going to be day 2 as well, but there's a bit of a tier drop off in my opinion. Now, Amika Iuka, he's pretty good, man. He is a shining beacon of talent on an awful football team. He has given perhaps the best body control in this entire wide receiver class. He's built on highlight catches, physically boxes out defenders to keep positioning. He's overall very athletic, but he was only able to get 831 receiving yards this season. Now, the prior season, he had 1,013 receiving yards. He did have 6 touchdowns both seasons. So he's consistently been around that 1,000 receiving yard mark, but you still kind of want to see a little bit more production. He kind of prospects out a little bit like Drake London. He has that big body type frame, averaged around 70 receiving yards per game. And currently, he's around ADP 56 in NFL mock drafts. So that's why there's a reason he's a day 2 pick. He can contribute to teams. He has the class. He's a B tier type wide receiver. Now things get very interesting. You can see I might be higher on some of these guys than other people. In fact, this, I don't even know if I want to put in. I will. You know what? I will. I'm going to put Jalen Royals next, man. A little thumbnail. Let's go back. All right, Jalen Royals. It's close. It's close. This might be controversial. Jalen Royals up next in B tier. Now, the reason I did this, he is kind of like Malachi Corley and Rashee Rice. He has Rashee Rice type talent, raw route runner, explosive, athleticism, does most of the work. He had 554 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns on the season. Psych! 554 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns in his last 3 games combined. 3 games, final 3 games, almost 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. A lot of upside, but I'm worried about how he's going to acclimate to the NFL. We'll have to see what kind of combine he has. But Jalen Royals, he's a sleeper to watch out for. Now, people are definitely wondering, where's Isaiah Bond? Have I lost my mind? Why is Isaiah Bond not in here yet? And there's a reason for it, boys. There is a reason. Calm down. Isaiah Bond, he's not good. I don't know. His raw talent has people thinking he's going to be MVP. Look at his stats. Look at his stats. Year 1, freshman, 200 receiving yards, Alabama. Year 2, Alabama quarterback, 48 receptions, 670 receiving yards. It's solid, but it's really not. Like, compared to these guys, they have way better seasons. And then most recently, transferred to Texas, 33 receptions, 530 receiving yards. He's got the talent. The talent's there. He broke out in Alabama and they transferred to Texas. I mean, broke out. He had 600 receiving yards. It's solid. Never has had a 700 receiving yard season. He is very athletic, so he could be a superstar. He tried filling in for Xavier Worthy. They didn't get that same type of production from him. But he still is looking like he could be a day one draft pick. If any of these B-tier guys could be a day one draft pick, it's going to be Isaiah Bond. We'll have to see how his combine plays out. I'm just not sold on him based on his overall stats in college. Up next is another B-tier type guy, is Xavier Restrepo. Now, Xavier Restrepo, he has 2 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons for Miami. His role in the NFL will probably be a deep threat, but he showed a lot more route nuance this past season. He also has the ability to play special teams. So, he's probably going to be a day 2 type draft pick. That's the expectation we have here. He's ADP right now is 66, which, it's not terrible. He's had a couple, solid years. He had 1,092 receiving yards in 2023, 1,100 this most past season, and he had 11 touchdowns as well. So this could be a guy that would really help your fantasy football team. That's why he's someone to look out for right there. Up next is going to be Tess Johnson. Again, we're still in that B-tier type range. Tess Johnson. Now, both Xavier Restrepo and Tess Johnson, they're a bit smaller. People are a bit worried they're only going to be slot receivers. It's a fair concern. Tess Johnson, he has a lot of receptions, man. His past 2 seasons, he's averaged, 80, 85, 86 receptions, averaging, anywhere between 860 to 1,100 receiving yards, depending on the number of games he played, averaging 10-plus touchdowns. So this guy was very, very solid for Oregon. Very, very good football coach to be playing for. Is he going to get the draft capital? He looked like an absolute stud in 2023 with 1,100 receiving yards, almost 1,200 and 10 touchdowns. Outperformed Troy Franklin. He looked better, took a bit of a step back in 2024, but he did play less games. So he could have a role similar to Xavier Worthy or Marquise Brown in the NFL, but he's still looking like a late day 2 draft pick at ADP 75. We'll see what his landing spot is, but he's still going to be rounding out B tier here. And I say rounding out B tier because now we go to some like sleeper type picks, right? And I'm going to go with Savon Williams first. Savon Williams, he's a physical specimen. 6'5", 225 pounds, and he played a unique hybrid role at TCU, playing both wide receiver and running back throughout the season. He ended with 611 receiving yards, that's all right, and 322 rushing yards with 12 total touchdowns. Swiss Army knife players don't always translate to the NFL, but if he finds a role as a two-way player in the league, he could be wide receiver and running back. That's huge. He only had 1,000 scrimmage yards. That's pretty solid. Savon Williams is C tier. Kyron Lacey is up next. 24-year-old prospect. He's old. It's a bit of a downside. He's 6'2", 213 pounds, very good on-field awareness, solid contested catcher, does some of his best work getting under deep passes. The size and mental maturity might be enough for him to, contribute early in his career, but he's unlikely to be a true fantasy stud, and he's also wanted for murder. You heard that right. I'm pretty sure he's wanted for murder, so it could be a bit of a... Might have to move him down the board a little bit, right? Jaden Higgins is up next. We got 2 more receivers on the big board. Jaden Higgins is a big-bodied wide receiver at 6'4", 215 pounds, who wins with his physicality and hands. He's great at getting off the jam and contact. 87 receptions, 1,183 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns this season. Likely going to be a reserve-type guy who can be a solid red zone threat or potentially develop into an outside possession wide receiver. It's kind of a project. That's why he's in C tier, but he had a pretty good season this year. And finally, the last receiver on the board is Jack Beck. Now, there probably are some prospects definitely better than this guy. I just don't have him listed on my top 50 right now. If you want me to update that and drop some names down below who you think might be better. But Jack Beck, C tier, on LSU transfer to TCU. He led the TCU Frogs with 62 receptions, 1,030 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. Good size, strong hands at the point of attack. After the catch, Beck can work through contact well and turn small plays into bigger ones. He could be a solid wide receiver 3 or 4 on a team. You're looking at a little bit less fantasy relevance when you get down to the bottom of C tier, which is why even some of these other guys I might be missing right now is Deion Burks, Kobe Hudson, Caden Prather, Torrey Horton, Ty Felton. Are they really going to be as fantasy relevant as some of these guys up to the top? I should probably include them, so we'll hit the drawing board for sure. Comment down below who you think's missing. What tier do you think I got right? What tier do you think I got wrong? Smash the like and subscribe button, boys. That is the wide receiver rankings early. We'll update this as the season gets closer and if we have any big changes. Smash the like and subscribe button, boys. Peace out.